A host of Life, Liberty, Levin every Sunday night, the #1 show right here on Fox News. I call him the Great One, Mark Levin. Mark, I'll let you go, but the one thing I'll say to start is how fascinating today Democrats and the media actually cared about, quote, obstruction of justice when they've ignored, let's see, deleting subpoenaed emails, acid washing hard drives, and busting up devices and removing SIM cards. That never impressed them. But only if it's Trump do they get all worked up about something.
Well, it never will impress them, but I want to make a point here, Sean, about Mueller's office. They sat there all day long while this false reporting was going on, while the president was being smeared, while the reporters, so-called, and their friendly Democrats on the Capitol Hill were saying this is an impeachable offense. They won't be held to account. They won't apologize. They'll continue on tomorrow to the next great fake story. But I want to say this about Mr. Mueller's office. They didn't do anybody any favor. I will tell you why they issued their statement around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Because I was on the radio, among other things, demanding that the Attorney General of the United States, Mr. Whitaker, and the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Mr. Rosenstein, immediately launch a leak investigation. Because if these reporters, these two clowns, were right, of course they weren't, but if they were, the only place these documents, texts, and emails could have come from was Mr. Mueller's office. And they issued their statement, 7:30, give or take, tonight, Eastern Time, not because the story was accurate, it was inaccurate, but because if you conduct a leak investigation, you sit down Mr. Weissman, and you make him undertake a lie detector test, and you ask him if he's ever talked to the press about anything, about any subject, or any of those individuals in that office, including Mr. Mueller, I suspect a number of people would be nabbed. And so the fact is, Mr. Mueller's office did not want a leak investigation. There was every basis to have a leak investigation if, in fact, the Justice Department believed this story was accurate. So they didn't release this rare statement just because they're good people. They released it to cover their asses because they don't want a leak investigation. Again, not related to this case in particular, which was absurd, but they don't want to be asked about it.
Let me ask you this, because I think this is really important here. You know, we learned this week that the general counsel under James Comey, Mr. Integrity's FBI, is now under a criminal investigation. We already have learned his deputy director is under a criminal investigation.
For leaking.
We now know that everybody in the Justice Department, all of these figures that have been what we call the deep state, that they all were warned, as we were discussing with Professor Dershowitz, about Hillary paying for the dossier and Steele hating the president, and it also not being verified or corroborated. But it became the basis of FISA warrants. All those people that signed on to it, including, by the way, Mueller's office knew all of this. And I'll add one thing. Remember, Bruce Orr, the messages we had after Christopher Steele is fired for lying and leaking, he's trying to feed Mueller information through Bruce Orr. And I'm wondering...
Yeah, but you know...
Go ahead.
You know, Professor Dershowitz is right. The way you handle this is through some kind of an evidentiary hearing, a contempt hearing. And so the question is, Sean, where are these FISA judges? Why aren't they holding hearings? Why aren't they getting to the bottom of this? They know all this information is out. No, they all know that a contempt was committed against the court, which means the justice system. There's simply no question about this now. And so there's a serious question about the functioning of the federal judiciary in this respect and these FISA court judges. But I want to get back to today. The media have disgraced themselves. They tomorrow will say, we said if the story's true. You don't go with a story if you don't know if it's true. You don't go with a story if you don't know if you can verify it. And this has been going on since before President Trump was president, and it's unique to him, and it's a disgrace. They were talking about impeaching him, indicting his kids. I think the American people believe in fairness and justice. They believe in a free press, but the free press apparently doesn't believe in a free press. And over at CNN and MSNBC and these other outlets, they really need to clean house. And until these executives get off their high horses, try to take out the President of the United States, these anchors, these hosts, these reporters, they're a joke. They drag down the entire media and they drag down the country, and they did
Mark,
it again
let me point out something. For 2017 alone, the Washington Examiner, I have, and I put it on my website, Hannity.com, 47 printed pages of fake news stories in a 1 year period of time, 2017. 47 printed pages. And what they do is they just go from one hysterical report to the next. They're never held accountable. It's hurting the country, Mark.
It's hurting the country, and it's all intended to drive towards impeachment, and it's even more. They're dragging down our republic by dragging down our president. This is our president. You want to try and take him out? Wait for the next election. You don't try and do all these nasty things, all these lies and all the rest. You don't call our president Hitler and Stalin and a racist and 1,000 other things, and you don't run with every phony story that comes across your desk. This is yellow journalism. It's as low as I've ever seen, and it's going to continue to get lower unless Time Warner, unless Comcast, unless all these other major corporations get control of their newsrooms and clean them up.
You know,
and by the way, can't you find a better photo of me than that one you're putting on TV?
I didn't pick the photo. Is that all you want to talk about?
No.
Life, Liberty, Levin, Sunday night. Great. Unbelievable. We'll see you soon. Mark Levin. All right.